Hello, Phil here. If you're somebody that struggles with hunger, cravings, and just generally sticking to a diet that makes you feel good, then this training is for you. So, a bit of context, I have been experimenting on myself a little bit the last 12 weeks with my diet to see if I can make it a little bit more flexible. So, let me give you some context there. I normally do a bodybuilding diet. We all know what a bodybuilding diet is: chicken, rice, oats. It's basically healthy food. Very, very, very strict. And then I do that about 6 days a week. And then I have one day, Sunday, it's referred to as a refeed day, and that is where I get to eat X amount of hours worth of junk food. That's how there's loads of ways of doing this, and it's beyond the scope of the training, but I'm now doing 12 hours of junk food. That helps fat loss and also gives me a bit of a mental break, and then we go back into this 6 days here. Now, a lot of my clients do something that's referred to as more of a flexible diet. And essentially here, what we do is we make sure that we eat the right amount of calories, the right amount of protein, and then I always use the analogy of money. If your calories are money and you've used some of your money for protein, then the rest of that money can be shared between the fats and the carbs. If you're thinking to yourself, Phil, that doesn't work, you've got to do a low carb diet, or Phil, you need to do a high carb diet, then, well, I can't go into it now, but I'll put the link to my webinar, and my webinar covers why you're wrong. So, flexible dieting. I wanted to do that for two reasons, really. One, I wanted to do it because, well, I wanted to see really if it really worked well. So, does it work? And I mean, I know it works for general weight loss, but I wanted to see how well it works for me. And then two, basically, it was more of a test. I'll give you a quick example. My nan in her late 70s, I once saw her open up this. It was a bar of dairy milk. She broke off two little squares. You know they come in these two in squares. She ate those two squares, wrapped the packet up or the chocolate bar back up, put it back in the cupboard. And I said to her, Nan, what are you doing with that chocolate bar? And she said, oh, I let myself have two squares a day. That is some pretty good discipline. So I was basically thinking, could I be that kind of person that does that? So flexible dieting really is, once you've ticked off the calories and the protein, got some good fats, you are kind of allowed to fill some of those calories with maybe some biscuits or the odd packet of crisps, or if you're like a beer. And for most people, that is a better option than this, because if you give somebody too many strict days, they kind of go off the wagon. Now, the thing is about that is, and what you have to be careful with anything in exercise is and I know it's a bit of a cop out, but nothing in exercise or fitness is black and white. So I thought to myself today, and I've been doing this for about 12 weeks now. My last meal of the day is normally 50 grams of protein, and I normally get that from a low fat beef, the 5% mince, so beef mince. I have zero carbs, except what I get from greens, maybe a greens drink or some veg. And my fat is around 5 grams, I think. And I'll get that from either an egg, so I include the yolk for the fat, and then some of that, the egg white would be towards the protein, so I have to reduce the beef, or cheese. And that meal is a really good meal if you've been dieting for a long time. For me personally, it beats a protein shake and veg, or it beats chicken and veg, or kind of a real lean steak and veg, because it's just boring. So instead, today I swapped that out for essentially the equivalent amount of calories that would be, and that's something like um, 245. Read that for Weetabix, which obviously carbs, skimmed milk, which is pretty much carbs, protein, and then I just use some a sweetener. And this is what happened. And this is important because if you're somebody that struggles with hunger and cravings, or maybe those two things, just those two things alone, are enough to make a diet very, very difficult. This is kind of my. I knew this would happen, but this is what happens. If I eat the burger, which is full of protein and mostly fat, it is filling because protein is the most filling of the macronutrients. So fat, protein, carbs. It kind of goes protein, then fats, then carbs. And for me, the burger plus they say an egg or cheese tastes nice. But if you said to me, Phil, you'll never in the rest of your life have a burger and an egg, I would be kind of like, yeah, okay, that's going to be tough. But I would probably miss it. But if you said you'll never have chocolate again, biscuits, baked goods, or a pizza, I'd be thinking, fuck, that's going to be hard. So for me, the burger and the egg taste nice, but it doesn't. It's nice, but it doesn't make me want more. So obviously, if you can probably see what's coming, the Weetabix. Bear in mind the calories are exactly the same, so it's a straight swap calorie for calorie. I feel empty. I literally do not feel like I've had a meal. Now, let's be honest. Although there's quite a lot of fibre in those Weetabix 3, you don't get very much. It mushes up, and then before you know it, it's gone. Um, Cravings, maybe because I added the sweetener to it, and I'm a big cereal fan. I'm more of a carb lover. Now I want more. There's also probably a psychological issue there because when I was trying to build muscle, I was having 10 to 12. I know people are going to think, wow, you must be like something wrong with you, but I would have 10 to 12 Weetabix. I can eat that, they'll be gone 2 or 3 minutes. So to go from 10 to 12 to 3, excuse me, there must be some kind of psychological thing there because I'm so used to being able to just put 4 in, 4 in, 4 in, and feel quite filled up from that. But to go to 3, my body must be thinking, or my brain must be thinking, what's going on? So essentially, this is what it comes down to. Now, I'll be brutally honest. At the moment, my diet isn't very. I'm not struggling too much. I've been doing it about 12 weeks. I would say my hunger. I have clients every week when they check in, give me their hunger out of 10. I would give myself maybe a 5. Haven't really had any of those kind of stomach pains. It's not growling, and I would say cravings. Not really something that matters so much, but I don't know, maybe a 6. I get midway through the week and I start to look forward to that Sunday refeed, but I can live. And obviously, I have really good discipline because I've been doing this for a while. So that meal, sitting here right now, I'm hungry than I should have been, and I had that taste for wanting some more Weetabix, but I can cope with it. Now, if I did the same in, let's say, 6 weeks from now, hunger might be like a 7 to 8 out of 10. Cravings might be like an 8 out of 10. Now, for me personally, having dieted for 6 months to do a bodybuilding competition and not cheated once, done everything I needed to do, I can sit here at night hungering and just suffer with it. You, on the other hand, probably won't be able to. So, food choices matter for that. For that reason. If we put everything out, all being equal, I had, what did I say? It was something like 245 calories with the beef versus 245-ish calories from the cereal. A completely different feeling of how full I am and how much I want to eat more. For those of you that have struggled with dieting in the past, struggled with maintaining it after maybe, and are wondering why, sometimes you have to be a little bit stricter. Now, to end this, actually, I'll start a new page and better be quick because my MacBook has 3% on it. If this is the bodybuilder here, the bodybuilder diet, one extreme, and this is the flexible dieting here, I probably want to be like here, maybe. The hungrier I get, the more I'm going to go back to here personally. But for some people, you're going to need to be careful. And the best thing I can say, what I say to clients is, watch out for trigger foods. I kind of hate to liken this to alcoholics, but it serves a good purpose here. So it's a bit like saying to an alcoholic, you can have one beer. It doesn't work. They have to go to nothing or they end up being all. There are some foods for people, and I'm not going to say they're addictive because they're not, but there are foods that as soon as you eat them, you're going to want more. There's a chocolate bar in the fridge that I didn't have at the weekend, and for a second I was actually going to have it. It was a mint aero. The problem was the whole bar was like 600 calories, so I was going to literally be able to have about a third, if that. It would have literally, it was a mint aero. It probably would have been like, they come in the rectangles. It would have probably been like two. It would have been two lines. That would have been an even worse use of my calories than the Weetabix, and the best option would have been the beef with the eggs. So I want people to find good balance. I want you to have some flexibility. I want you to have a good balance of bodybuilding foods, but I want you to avoid these trigger foods and make sensible options. Choose sensible options that fill you up, especially if you're later in a diet and you've been doing it for several weeks and you're hungrier. I hope that really helps, and it kind of gives you a visual, and with listening to my experience on how a simple change of meal has completely changed how I'm feeling right now about my diet. Any questions regarding this, pop them in wherever you see this, pop them in a comment box, or email me back if it's from an email. For those who are probably thinking, those of you that I said at the start are thinking, how is Phil swapping out carbs for protein, and he's doing all these things that he shouldn't be doing? I'll put the link in for my webinar. My webinar basically covers 4 essential principles that you have to follow for successful weight loss that you can stick to forever. It's the 4 things that I will give my clients to make them successful. One of them covers that nutritional science. So I would strongly recommend you watch that as well. Cheers, guys.